Today we'll continue on in the book of Ephesians, Ephesians 6 from 5 to 9. Now, just as a reminder, Paul is in this section called the Paranesis, where he talks about how to live, how to direct your household in the path of the Lord. First, he talked about husbands and wives, the foundation of a household. Then parents and children, the next generation of the household. Masters and slaves actually continues that talk about the household, because many households would have slaves. About 80% of the Roman Empire were slaves, and the vast majority of those were household slaves. Slaves in the house to either clean or cook, sometimes to educate the children, doing a number of different things. Paul does this here in the book of Ephesians. He does it in Colossians. Peter does it in 1 Peter. He talks about husbands, wives, parents, children, masters, slaves. So with that as a background, Ephesians 6:5, slaves, obey your earthly masters with deep respect and fear. Serve them sincerely as you would serve Christ. Try to please them all the time, not just when they're watching you. As slaves of Christ, do the will of God with all your heart. Work with enthusiasm, as though you're working for the Lord rather than for one person. Remember that the Lord will reward each one of us for the good we do, whether we are slaves or free. Masters, treat your slaves in the same way. Don't threaten them. Remember, you both have the same master in heaven. He has no favorites. It's kind of clear to see what Paul is talking about here to masters and slaves in the first century. We might think, what does that have to do with us? I think the principles here can be transferred into working a job with any position of authority involved. That treats most of us, all of us. We all have a boss. We all have someone who holds authority over us. So for those of us who are under authority, Paul says in verse 5, respect and obey. Just like children are to respect and obey their parents, so a person under authority is to respect the person in authority over them and obey what that person has given them to do. Paul adds a third element, and serve. Obey them and even look for ways to serve them that they weren't necessarily expecting. Now, Paul goes on when he talks about respect, obey, and serve, and he says, do it in this particular way. First of all, do it in sincerity. Serve them sincerely. Don't just pretend. Serve them sincerely. Do your job in sincerity. Second, look to please them. Find out what it is that they are wanting and supply that for them. Please them in what you are doing. And thirdly, he says, do it with enthusiasm. Verse 7. Work with enthusiasm. Sincerity, pleasing, enthusiastic. What a great employee. You do that, you'll keep the job that you have. Masters, those now who are in authority over others. Paul starts by saying, treat them in the same way. Now, what does he mean? To those who are under authority, he said, respect, obey, and serve. Well, obey doesn't really fit when you're the person with authority, exercising authority. But the other two, respect and serve those who are under your authority. Treat them with respect and look for ways to serve them. These are very simple principles. I don't know exactly what that looks like in your world, but I bet you do. If you are in authority in your place of business, how do you respect your workers? How do you serve them? If you are under authority in your place of business, how do you respect, obey, and serve those who are in authority? Look for ways to obey these scriptures. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.